In Rome, being emperor meant being the most powerful man in the world, but it also meant being the shortest-lived target, because those who protected you stood close enough to kill you. They did not fight on the borders, did not clash with barbarians. They lived inside the palace, among whispers and daggers, Rome's death machines, known as the Praetorian Guard. Some emperors they raised to the throne, others they removed in the middle of the night, and one day they even auctioned off Rome's fate to the highest bidder. So how did a protection unit become more powerful than emperors? And why was Rome forced to destroy this monster it had created? Now we enter Rome's darkest corridors. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Do you think Rome was destroyed by external enemies or by these guards on the inside? Be sure to write in the comments. 27 BC. Augustus stood in his private chamber, first emperor of Rome, master of the known world, conqueror of Egypt, heir of Caesar, and terrified. Not of Parthians, not of Germanic tribes, not of foreign armies massing on distant borders, of Rome itself. The Senate met daily, aristocrats who remembered the Republic, who remembered when they held power, who saw Augustus as temporary inconvenience, necessary evil, soon to be removed. Generals commanded legions, men with armies, men with ambition, men who remembered that Caesar himself had marched on Rome, that power came from swords, not votes. The mob filled the streets, hungry, fickle, one day cheering, next day rioting. Bread shortages meant violence, political disputes meant blood. And assassination was Rome's oldest political tool. Caesar had died 23 stab wounds, killed by senators, in the Senate chamber itself, men he trusted, men he had pardoned, men who smiled while hiding daggers. Augustus knew the throne made you target. Supreme power meant supreme danger. Every shadow held potential killer. Every friend might be tomorrow's assassin. He needed protection, but not ordinary guards, not legionaries. They were loyal to their generals, not emperors. Not foreign mercenaries, they could be bought. Not slaves, they lacked training. He needed something new, elite force, loyal only to him, close enough to protect, skilled enough to kill, trusted enough to stand armed in his presence. The Praetorian Guard was born from paranoia, and paranoia in Rome was survival instinct. The name came from old Republic tradition, Praetorians, commanders' bodyguards. Generals on campaign kept select troops as personal protection, best fighters, most trusted men, shield between commander and enemy.
But Augustus transformed concept, made it permanent, institutional, gave them barracks in Rome itself, something unprecedented, something dangerous. Because Rome had sacred law, no legions inside the city. Pomerium, the religious boundary. Cross it with armed troops and you declared war on Rome itself. Caesar crossed it, started civil war. But Praetorian Guard was not technically legion, was not foreign army, was bodyguard, personal protection, different category, legal loophole. 9 cohorts, initially 4,500 men, later expanded. Each cohort 500 soldiers, elite, hand-picked, stationed in and around Rome, close to emperor, ready to respond. Their primary mission was not defending Rome from Gauls or Parthians, was defending emperor from Romans, from senators who whispered conspiracy, from generals who eyed throne, from crowds who could turn mob, from rivals who would murder for power. Augustus created solution to his fear, but he also created a new problem, because armed force loyal to emperor could protect emperor, but could also replace emperor. The Praetorians knew this from the beginning. They stood closest to power, saw emperors as human, fallible, mortal, replaceable. And replacement, they would learn, was profitable. But initially, under Augustus, they were loyal, professional. He paid them well, triple legionary salary, shorter service, 16 years versus 25, better conditions, prestige. They wore distinctive armor, oval shields instead of rectangular, ornate helmets, finer equipment, visible markers of elite status. When Praetorians walked Rome's streets, crowds parted. These were emperor's men, untouchable. Their commander, Praetorian prefect, became second most powerful man in empire, direct access to emperor, control over elite force.
Political influence. Many prefects were equestrians, not senators. New power structure, bypassing old aristocracy. This bred resentment. Senate hated them, saw them as upstart thugs, emperor's attack dogs, threat to senatorial privilege, but could do nothing because Praetorians had swords, Senate had only words. Regular legions hated them too. Soldiers on frontiers, Danube, Rhine, Syria, fought actual enemies, harsh conditions, long campaigns, danger, while Praetorians lived in Rome, comfortable, safe, higher pay for easier work. This resentment would fester, grow, eventually explode, but not yet. Under Augustus, system worked. Emperor ruled, Praetorians protected, Rome functioned. But Augustus was founder, had legitimacy, had respect, had, most importantly, had established system before opposition could organize. What happened after Augustus died, when weaker emperors took the throne, when succession was unclear, when multiple claimants competed? That was when Praetorian Guard's true nature revealed itself, not protectors, kingmakers. Because they realized a fundamental truth. Emperor was not chosen by the gods, not by the Senate, not by the people. Emperor was chosen by whoever controlled the swords, and in Rome, Praetorians controlled the swords that mattered most, the swords closest to the throne. Augustus died 14 AD, natural causes, old age, rare for Roman leader. His heir Tiberius took power smoothly. Praetorians transferred loyalty. System worked. But precedent was set. Armed force in Rome, loyal to person, not state. This would define Roman politics for 3 centuries, would make and unmake emperors, would auction the throne, would eventually become so corrupt that only destroying them could save empire. The Praetorian Guard started as a solution to Augustus's fear of assassination, ended as reason every emperor after him feared assassination. The protectors became the threat, the shield became the dagger. Rome had created its own deadliest enemy and housed it in the heart of the city.
Not every soldier could become Praetorian. This was not conscription, not random assignment. This was selection, rigorous, deliberate, political. The standards were brutal, and the rewards made men willing to endure anything for acceptance. A legionary on the Rhine served 25 years, fought Germans in freezing forests, marched through mud, built camps in hostile territory, earned 225 denarii per year, basic soldier's wage. A Praetorian served 16 years, lived in Rome, barracks with heating, real beds, urban amenities, earned 750 denarii per year, more than triple for less time in safer conditions. This disparity was intentional. Augustus designed it this way. Elite forces required elite compensation, but also created toxic dynamic. Legionaries resented Praetorians, called them palace soldiers, cowards hiding in city while real men fought barbarians. But becoming Praetorian was not easy. Requirements were specific, restrictive, designed to ensure loyalty and capability. First requirement, origin. Initially, Praetorians came almost exclusively from Italy, not provinces, not conquered territories.
Italian-born citizens, men with cultural connection to Rome itself, men who understood Roman politics, Roman values, Roman identity. This was political calculation. Augustus wanted guards who saw themselves as Romans first, not Gauls who happened to serve Rome, not Iberians with divided loyalties, Italians, men whose families, land, future tied to Rome's survival. Later emperors relaxed this, expanded recruitment to Romanized provinces, but core remained, cultural Romans, men who spoke Latin natively, who understood Senate dynamics, who could navigate Rome's political labyrinth. Second requirement, physical standards. Praetorians had to meet height minimum, approximately 5'10" in Roman measurements, taller than average, imposing presence, men who could intimidate through appearance alone. They had to be strong, not just combat strong, ceremonially strong, because Praetorians did not just fight, they stood guard for hours, wore heavy armor in summer heat, carried emperor's litter. Physical endurance was essential.
They had to be healthy, perfect vision, good hearing, no chronic conditions, no visible deformities, because they represented emperor, had to look perfect, be perfect, embody Roman ideal of military excellence. Third requirement, prior service. Most Praetorians came from regular legions, men who had proven themselves in combat, veterans, experienced soldiers, not recruits. This meant Praetorians were tested, had killed before, had seen battle, had demonstrated discipline under pressure. The palace needed warriors, not parade soldiers. But there was a catch. Praetorian recruitment often favored connections, patronage, letters of recommendation from powerful men. Son of centurion had better chance than orphan, even if orphan was better fighter. This was Rome. Merit mattered, but connections mattered more. Fourth requirement, loyalty testing. Before acceptance, candidates were investigated. Background checks, family history, political affiliations. Any hint of disloyalty, rejected. Any connection to Senate factions opposed to emperor, rejected. Any suspicious associations, rejected. Augustus created intelligence network specifically for vetting Praetorians, because one traitor among bodyguards could end everything. Better reject 100 good men than accept one assassin. Fifth requirement, oath. Upon acceptance, Praetorians swore personal oath to emperor, not to Rome, not to Senate, not to abstract ideals, to the man, individual, person sitting on throne. This oath was renewed annually, ceremony, public display, binding. Break it, and punishment was death, torture first, then execution, then damnatio memoriae, erasure from history.
The oath's personal nature was revolutionary and dangerous because it meant Praetorians served person, not institution. When emperor died, oath died. New emperor required new oath, new loyalty, new negotiation. This gave Praetorians leverage, power, because emperors needed their oath, needed their swords, needed their protection, and Praetorians learned to extract price for that loyalty. Training for Praetorians was different from legionary training. Legionaries trained for open battle, formation fighting, shield walls, javelin throws, cavalry charges, siege warfare. Praetorians trained for urban combat, close quarters, assassination prevention, riot control, palace security. Different skill set, different mindset. They practiced fighting in narrow corridors, staircases, doorways, rooms, places where formations did not matter, where individual skill determined survival. They learned to detect threats, read body language, identify potential assassins in crowds, watch hands, watch eyes, watch anyone approaching emperor. They trained with gladius at closer range than normal combat, because in palace, enemies were 3 feet away, not 30. Every strike had to be fatal, immediate, no second chances.
They learned to fight in civilian clothes because sometimes Praetorians operated undercover, blending into crowds, protecting emperor without being obvious, sword hidden under toga, dagger strapped to forearm. They studied poisons, how to detect them, how to prevent them. Tasters were first line of defense, but Praetorians needed to recognize symptoms, react quickly if emperor was poisoned. They learned building security, how to secure the palace, check rooms, screen visitors, control access points. They were not just bodyguards, they were security apparatus, intelligence service, secret police.
Equipment differed too. Standard legionary carried rectangular scutum shield, heavy, designed for formation fighting. Praetorians used oval shields, lighter, more maneuverable, better for individual combat. Legionary wore lorica segmentata, segmented armor, effective but cumbersome. Praetorians often wore lorica hamata, chainmail, more flexible, easier to move in, better for palace work. Praetorian helmet was ornate, decorative, crests, plumes, not just functional, symbolic, showing elite status, intimidating potential threats through appearance. Their gladius was standard, but maintained better, sharper, finer craftsmanship, because emperor's guards carried emperor's weapons, had to be perfect. Some Praetorians carried pugios, daggers, concealed for close work, for situations where gladius was too obvious, for assassination and counter-assassination. The barracks, Castra Praetoria, reflected their status. Built under Tiberius, permanent fortress inside Rome, walls, gates, towers, military installation in civilian city, strategic position, could deploy across Rome within hour. Inside, Praetorians lived better than any soldiers in empire. Individual rooms instead of shared tents, heated floors, bath complexes, libraries, training grounds, Rome's finest military facility for Rome's finest soldiers. This comfort bred complacency, made them soft, critics said, palace soldiers. But critics misunderstood. Praetorians were not soft, were calculating. They knew their value, knew their power, were not desperate legionaries grateful for scraps, were professionals negotiating compensation. And their compensation kept increasing. Each new emperor needed Praetorian loyalty, each paid more than predecessor. Donatives, bonus payments upon accession, became expected, then demanded, then required. By the 2nd century, becoming emperor meant buying Praetorian support, literally, with gold, promises, rewards. The guards who started as protectors had become brokers, kingmakers, the most dangerous commodity in Rome. And they were just beginning to understand their power. The Praetorian training ground was not a battlefield. It was a palace replica. Mock corridors, fake rooms, stairways, doorways. Because Praetorians did not train to fight armies, they trained to kill individuals, close, fast, silent. Their instructors were not centurions who taught formation fighting. They were veterans of palace intrigue, men who had stopped assassinations, men who had committed them. Lesson 1. Proximity kills. In palaces, threats came from arm's length. Senator reaching for handshake, servant pouring wine, guest standing too close. Praetorians learned to read intention before action. Watch the eyes, not the hands. Eyes betrayed intent, hands merely executed. They drilled constantly. Draw gladius from rest position, 1 second. Strike vital target, throat, heart, gut. Disable immediately. No warning, no hesitation, because hesitation meant emperor died. Lesson 2. Crowd control. Rome's streets could erupt instantly. Political speech gone wrong, grain shortage, religious festival turned violent. Praetorians had to extract emperor from chaos, shield him,
move him, kill anyone who interfered. They practiced forming shield walls in tight spaces, 4 men creating impenetrable barrier, moving as unit, pushing through crowds, gladii stabbing anyone too close. Not formation fighting, controlled brutality. Lesson 3, Threat Assessment. Palace held hundreds of people, senators, servants, scribes, petitioners. Any could be assassin. Praetorians learned to profile, watch for nervousness, concealed weapons, suspicious positioning. They memorized faces, tracked movements, reported anomalies. This made them intelligence operatives as much as soldiers. They overheard conversations, noted alliances, identified threats before threats materialized. Prefect received daily reports, who met whom, what was discussed, where loyalties shifted. This information was power, knowledge of Senate conspiracies, of military plots, of succession schemes. Praetorians knew everything, and knowledge in Rome was currency. Their equipment reflected urban warfare specialty. Standard legionary kit, designed for open battle, was useless in corridors. Praetorians adapted. The gladius remained primary weapon, but Praetorian gladius was different. Shorter blade, faster draw, optimized for stabbing at close range, in narrow spaces, against unarmored opponents. Senators wore togas, not armor, civilian targets, required different tactics. The pugio, dagger, was essential, hidden under clothing, strapped to forearm, concealed in boot, because sometimes Praetorian needed to kill without being obvious. Crowded room, public ceremony, poison failing, blade succeeding. Armor was lighter. Praetorians wore lorica hamata, chainmail, or lorica squamata, scale armor, flexible, quiet, could be concealed under civilian clothes, because sometimes they operated undercover, blending into crowds, watching, waiting, ready. Their shields, oval scutum, allowed individual maneuver, not locked in formation, free to turn, block, strike, defend emperor from any angle. The shield was not just defense, was weapon. Bash attacker, create opening, gladius finishes. Some Praetorians carried rods, symbols of authority, not weapons, but could break bones if necessary, official-looking, intimidating, useful for crowd control without drawing swords, escalation management. Training never stopped. Even veteran Praetorians drilled daily, because palace security required perfection. One mistake, one distraction, one slow reaction, and emperor died. And when emperor died, Praetorians lost everything, their position, their wealth, possibly their lives. This made them paranoid, hyper-vigilant, aggressive. They saw threats everywhere, treated everyone as potential assassin. Better to kill innocent than miss guilty. This created atmosphere of fear in the palace. No one felt safe. Everyone watched. Everyone suspected. Even senators avoided sudden movements near Praetorians. Even imperial family feared them, because Praetorians had killed emperors before, would kill again. The training, the equipment, the mindset, all designed for one purpose: keep emperor alive, at any cost, through any means, legal or illegal, moral or immoral, did not matter. Because Praetorians were not judges, were not philosophers, were death machines. Point them at target, they killed, efficiently, professionally, without question. This made them invaluable and terrifying, the perfect tool, until the tool realized it could choose its own targets. The Castra Praetoria sat on Rome's northeastern edge, stone walls, guard towers, military fortress. But this was not border fort, this was heart of Roman power. because inside those walls lived the only armed force allowed in Rome itself. 9,000 men, armed, trained, organized, 1 mile from the Forum, 2 miles from Emperor's Palace, close enough to deploy in minutes, close enough to control Rome. This was unprecedented. Sacred law, the Pomerium, forbade legions inside city. Crossing with armed troops meant declaring war on Rome. Julius Caesar had crossed, civil war followed. But Praetorians were not technically legion, were bodyguard, exception, legal fiction, and legal fiction that held 9,000 swords. The barracks were luxury compared to frontier forts, heated floors, individual quarters, bath complexes, libraries, training grounds, gardens. Praetorians lived like aristocrats, not soldiers. This was intentional. Comfortable men were loyal men. Wealthy men had stake in system, would defend it. But comfort also bred entitlement. Praetorians saw themselves as elite, above regular legionaries, above citizens, almost equal to senators. They walked Rome's streets arrogantly, shoved civilians aside, took what they wanted. Who would stop them? They were emperor's men. Their presence changed Rome's political dynamic. Senate debated, but Praetorians had final say, because Senate could vote, could argue, could conspire, but Praetorians had swords, and swords, in end, determined policy. Emperors understood this. Every decision considered Praetorian reaction, every policy evaluated through lens, will guards accept this? Antagonize Senate? Risky but manageable. Antagonize Praetorians? Suicide. This gave Praetorians veto power, informal, unspoken, but absolute. They did not need to threaten. Their existence was threat. Armed force in capital, loyal only while paid. And payment kept increasing. Each new emperor paid donative, bonus upon accession, started small, became tradition, then expectation, then requirement. By the 2nd century, donatives were enormous, thousands of denarii per soldier, bankrupting imperial treasury, but necessary, because Praetorians could refuse oath, could support rival, could stage a coup, and they knew it. The Praetorian prefect wielded extraordinary power. Commander of Emperor's bodyguard, second most powerful man in empire, direct access to emperor, control over Rome's only military force, political influence rivaling consuls. Many prefects were equestrians, not senators, representing new power structure, bypassing old aristocracy. Some prefects were loyal servants, competent administrators. Others were schemers, ambitious, using position to advance themselves. And some were kingmakers, men who realized prefect could make or break emperors. Sejanus understood this, Praetorian prefect under Tiberius. He concentrated the guard into a single barracks, previously dispersed, now unified, under his sole command. This gave him unprecedented power, military force, intelligence network, political influence. He became co-ruler with Tiberius, almost emperor himself. Until Tiberius realized Sejanus was replacing him, had him arrested, executed. But precedent was set. Prefect could challenge emperor, could control Rome, could, with Praetorian backing, rule empire. Inside palace, Praetorians were everywhere, guarding doors, watching hallways, listening to conversations. No privacy, no secrets, everything reported to prefect, everything recorded, everything potentially used. This created atmosphere of paranoia. Senators whispered, courtiers schemed carefully. Everyone assumed Praetorians listened, everyone feared being reported. This was power, not just physical force, but psychological control. Fear of watching eyes, fear of emperor's armed shadows. Praetorians did not just protect emperor from assassins, protected him from rivals, from military commanders with loyal legions, from governors with provincial armies, from anyone who might challenge the throne. They were deterrent. Message: emperor controls capital, controls Rome, and Rome controls empire. But deterrent worked only while Praetorians remained loyal, while emperor kept paying, while no better offer appeared. And better offers always appeared, from senators, from generals, from rival claimants, men offering more gold, more power, more opportunities. Because Praetorians, comfortable in their barracks, began asking dangerous question: if we protect emperor, what stops us from choosing emperor? If we can defend the throne, can we not seize it? The answer was nothing. Nothing stopped them, and soon they would prove it.
41 AD. Emperor Caligula lay dead, stabbed by his own Praetorians, blood pooling on marble floor. Senate scrambled, meeting in emergency session. Finally, tyrant was dead. Maybe Republic could return. Maybe Senate could reclaim power. They were wrong, because Praetorians had already decided. They found Claudius, Caligula's uncle, hiding behind curtains, terrified, stammering, expecting execution. Instead, they proclaimed him emperor, carried him on their shoulders to Castra Praetoria, declared loyalty, demanded donative. Claudius, desperate, agreed. 15,000 sesterces per soldier, enormous sum, price of throne. Senate learned lesson. They did not choose emperors anymore. Praetorians did. This was a watershed moment. First time Praetorians explicitly selected emperor, made choice, imposed will, and were rewarded for it. Precedent was catastrophic because now every Praetorian knew we choose rulers, we are kingmakers. The donative system became institutionalized. Each accession required payment, not gift, price. Praetorians would not swear an oath without gold, and each emperor paid more than predecessor. Inflation, expectations rising, treasury draining. Some emperors tried resisting. Galba, 69 AD, refused donative, said soldiers should serve from duty, not greed. Noble sentiment, foolish decision. Praetorians murdered him. 3 months into reign, replaced him with Otho, who paid immediately. Message was clear: refuse payment, die. Simple equation. Praetorians were not idealists, were mercenaries with the best employer in world, and they would keep that employer generous or find a new one. The year of 4 emperors, 69 AD, demonstrated Praetorian power completely. Galba killed, Otho proclaimed, then Vitellius challenged, then Vespasian. 4 emperors in 12 months, civil war, Praetorians switching sides, supporting whoever paid most, whoever promised most, pure mercenary behavior. Vespasian won, established Flavian dynasty, secured the throne, but he secured it by satisfying Praetorians, paying them, promoting them, making them complicit in his rule, so they would defend it. This became a pattern. Emperor needed Praetorian support, bought it, maintained it, because losing it meant losing everything. But buying loyalty is temporary. Loyalty purchased can be repurchased by someone else, someone offering more.
And challengers always offered more, because desperate men promise anything. Praetorians learned to auction loyalty, play claimants against each other, extract maximum price, not from duty, from business. They were selling empire's most valuable commodity, legitimacy. And legitimacy was worth fortunes. The most blatant example came 193 AD. Emperor Pertinax tried reforming Praetorians, restoring discipline, reducing privileges. They killed him 3 months into reign, then did something unprecedented. They auctioned the throne, publicly, openly, at Castra Praetoria. They announced, "Empire for sale. Highest bidder becomes emperor. Come make offer." 2 bidders appeared: Didius Julianus, wealthy senator, Titus Flavius Sulpicianus, Pertinax's father-in-law. They bid against each other, prices rising. 5,000 denarii per soldier, 6,000, 7,000. Julianus won, 25,000 sesterces per Praetorian. Outrageous sum. He paid, they proclaimed him emperor, legitimate, legal, recognized. For 66 days. Because frontier legions were outraged, real soldiers fighting actual wars, watching palace guards sell empire. General Septimius Severus marched on Rome. Praetorians realized they'd backed wrong side, surrendered Julianus, let Severus execute him, then tried negotiating with Severus, offering loyalty, expecting payment, standard procedure. This time, different response. Severus ordered them to parade, unarmed, surrounded them with his legions, then addressed them. "You killed emperors, you sold empire, you betrayed Rome, you are dismissed, leave city, never return." Praetorians were disbanded, humiliated, exiled, replaced with Severus's own loyal troops from frontier legions, men who fought barbarians, not palace politicians. The lesson? Praetorians were only powerful while emperors were weak. Strong emperor could destroy them, but strong emperors were rare, and Severus's new Praetorians eventually became like old ones, corrupt, powerful, dangerous. Because the institution was poison. Any armed force inside Rome would eventually corrupt, would eventually realize its power, would eventually use it.
The greatest danger to any emperor was not Senate conspiracies, not foreign invasions, not public riots. It was the men standing closest, the men holding swords, the men sworn to protect. Praetorians killed more emperors than any enemy. Caligula learned this January 24, 41 AD. He was insane, everyone agreed, declared himself God, humiliated senators, threatened to make horse a consul, killed on whim. Rome suffered, but Senate was powerless. Only Praetorians could act, and they did. Cassius Chaerea, Praetorian tribune, led conspiracy. Caligula had mocked him, called him weak, effeminate, humiliated him publicly. Bad decision, because Chaerea commanded armed men, inside palace, with access. After gladiatorial games, palace corridor, Caligula walking alone, Chaerea approached, pretended routine conversation, then struck. Gladius through neck. Other Praetorians joined, 30 stab wounds. Emperor died in minutes. No trial, no warning, just execution, by men sworn to protect him. Galba, 69 AD, refused Praetorian donative, tried imposing discipline, called them mercenaries. They agreed, proved it, dragged him from litter in forum, decapitated him, paraded head on pike, then proclaimed Otho emperor, who paid immediately. Pertinax, 193 AD, tried reforming Praetorians, cutting privileges, enforcing standards. They tolerated it briefly, then murdered him, broke into palace, stabbed him repeatedly, sold empire at auction. 3 months, emperor to corpse to merchandise. Commodus, 192 AD, different story. He loved Praetorians, fought as gladiator with them watching, paid them generously, treated them as friends. They still killed him. Well, helped. Strangled in bath by a wrestler. Praetorians ensured no rescue. Let it happen, because Commodus was embarrassment, made Rome look weak, and embarrassed Praetorians by association. The pattern was clear.
Praetorians killed emperors who threatened them, who reduced pay, who imposed discipline, who disrespected them, but also killed emperors who were simply inconvenient, who weakened Rome, who created instability.
They rationalized murders as service, removing tyrants, protecting empire, maintaining order. But reality was simpler. They killed when profitable, when safer to kill than protect, when better offer appeared. This created impossible situation for emperors. Trust the Praetorians? Be vulnerable to them. Distrust them? Be vulnerable to everyone else. No good option, only managed risk. Some emperors tried compromise, kept the Praetorians happy, paid well, treated respectfully. This worked temporarily, but created dependency. Emperor became hostage to their goodwill, slave to their expectations. Other emperors tried control, planted spies in the guard, divided command, rotated officers, created rival units. This bred paranoia, made the Praetorians nervous. Nervous Praetorians were dangerous Praetorians. The assassinations sent a message to all emperors: you rule at our pleasure. We protect you while you serve our interests. Deviate, and we remove you. This was not stated, did not need to be. Every emperor saw predecessors' fates, learned lesson, stayed aligned, or died. Palace became prison. The emperor was guarded, constantly, by men who might kill him. Could not trust advisors, might be conspiring. Could not trust family, might be ambitious. Could not trust anyone, except the Praetorians, who were least trustworthy of all. Some emperors went mad from paranoia, saw assassins everywhere, executed innocents, created actual conspiracies through suspicion, self-fulfilling prophecy. Paranoia caused betrayal. Betrayal justified paranoia. The Praetorians did not just kill emperors, they killed the office, made it unstable, temporary, deadly. Being emperor became short-term position, survival measured in months, not decades, because the guards were always watching, always calculating, always ready. And the dagger was always close, held by sworn protectors who had discovered that killing emperors was easier than protecting them and far more profitable. The question was not if Praetorians would kill emperor, but when and who would pay them to do it.
The frontier legionary stood guard on the Rhine. Winter, freezing rain, Germanic raiders across river, 25 years of service ahead, if he survived. Pay, 225 denarii per year. Conditions, brutal. Reward, maybe a small plot of land upon retirement. In Rome, a Praetorian slept late. Heated barracks, hot bath available. 16 years of service. No barbarians, no winter campaigns. Pay, 750 denarii per year, plus donatives, plus gifts, plus privileges. The legionary hated the Praetorian, viscerally. This hatred defined Roman military culture: real soldiers versus palace soldiers, warriors versus courtiers, men who bled versus men who watched. Frontier legions fought Rome's wars, conquered territories, defended borders, died in mud, froze in Germania, burned in Syria, starved during sieges. This was Roman military, harsh, deadly, glorious. Praetorians stood in marble hallways, watched senators argue, attended banquets, occasionally stopped assassination, mostly collected pay, comfortable, safe, boring. The disparity was obscene. Praetorian earned triple for doing third of the work, served shorter time, lived better, retired wealthier, all for being near emperor, not for fighting empire's enemies, just for standing close to power. Legionaries called them parasites, cowards, whores, said Praetorians would not last one day on real frontier, would run from actual combat, would die crying for their heated floors.
Some of this was jealousy. Legionaries wanted that pay, those conditions, that safety, but could not have it. Because they were not Italian, not connected, not lucky, just soldiers doing actual soldiering for fraction of reward. The resentment exploded during civil wars, when legions marched on Rome, when real soldiers faced palace guards. The contempt was mutual. Praetorians saw legionaries as crude barbarians. Legionaries saw Praetorians as soft urbanites. 69 AD, year of 4 emperors, frontier legions refused to recognize Praetorian choices. Who were you to pick emperor? German legions demanded. You never fought, never conquered, never bled, yet you choose ruler? They marched on Rome multiple times, Vitellius's legions, then Vespasian's. Each time Praetorians folded, surrendered, switched sides, because facing real legionaries, hardened, angry, numerous, they were outmatched. Palace swords meant nothing against frontier iron. This revealed truth. Praetorians were only strong in Rome, inside city, where they were sole armed force. But outside, against actual legions, they were nothing. Expensive, privileged, but militarily inferior. Civilians hated them too, for different reasons. Praetorians were arrogant, violent, untouchable. They shoved citizens aside, took what they wanted, beat anyone who objected. Who would prosecute? They were emperor's men, above law. They swaggered through the forum, insulted senators, harassed merchants, assaulted women with impunity. Because emperor needed them, so emperor protected them, no matter what crimes they committed.
Stories circulated. Praetorian raping shopkeeper's daughter. No punishment. Praetorian killing merchant in argument. No trial. Praetorians extorting protection money. No consequences. Rome resented them. These supposed protectors who terrorized citizens. These elite guards who guarded only their own interests. These mercenaries who sold empire repeatedly while living off Roman taxes, Roman grain, Roman wealth. The bitterness was universal. Senators hated them, political rivals. Legionnaires hated them, privileged cowards. Citizens hated them, armed thugs. Emperors hated them, necessary evil. Everyone hated them, but everyone needed them. Senators needed them to remove bad emperors. Legionnaires needed them weakened so legions controlled succession. Citizens needed them for stability. Emperors needed them for survival. This was Praetorians' genius and curse, universally despised, absolutely essential. Like poison that was also medicine, like cancer that kept body alive. Remove them, empire collapsed. Keep them, empire rotted. By the 3rd century, the hatred had calcified into certainty. Praetorians were Rome's disease. Symptoms were everywhere: political instability, murdered emperors, auctioned thrones, military demoralization, public fear. One emperor would decide. The cure required destroying the infection, even if surgery was brutal, even if patient nearly died, because letting Praetorians live was letting Rome die slowly.
312 AD, Emperor Constantine stood outside Rome. He had won civil war, defeated rivals, controlled empire, except Rome itself. Because inside Rome, Praetorian Guard waited. 9,000 men, armed, defiant, loyal to his defeated enemy. Constantine faced choice: negotiate with them, pay enormous donative, accept their terms, let them dictate conditions, standard procedure, how emperors had always handled Praetorians. Or destroy them. He chose destruction. His legions entered Rome, not as guests, as conquerors. They surrounded Castra Praetoria, sealed gates, cut water. No negotiation, no terms. Surrender or die. Praetorians had never faced this. Emperors always needed them, always compromised, always paid. Constantine was different. He had won empire through actual legions, frontier soldiers, men who hated Praetorians. He did not need palace guards, did not want them. After a brief siege, Praetorians surrendered, expected standard treatment, dismissal, exile, maybe service in distant provinces. They were wrong. Constantine disbanded them permanently. No reformation, no second chance. Praetorian Guard, institution lasting 3 centuries, ended. Castra Praetoria demolished, barracks destroyed, physical erasure. Surviving Praetorians were scattered, sent to frontier forts, reduced to common legionaries. No special status, no privileges, no power. From kingmakers to regular soldiers. Ultimate humiliation. But Constantine did not stop there. He created new guard, Scholae Palatinae. Different structure, different recruitment, smaller, less concentrated power, no political role, pure protection, what Praetorians should have been, what they never were. Why did Constantine succeed where others failed? Because he understood fundamental problem. Praetorian Guard was not fixable, could not be reformed, could not be controlled, was systemically corrupt. Only solution was elimination. Previous emperors tried compromise. Septimius Severus disbanded old guard, created new one. But new Praetorians became like old. Same privileges, same location, same proximity to power, same corruption. Because structure created the problem, not individuals. System was poison. Constantine removed system. No more elite guard in Rome. No more armed force inside the capital. No more kingmakers. Political power returned to emperors, to legions on frontiers, to actual military strength, not palace intrigue. Rome did not collapse without Praetorians, did not descend into chaos, actually became more stable, because succession no longer depended on bribing guards, depended on military victory, political skill, legitimacy, real factors, not who paid most gold to mercenaries. The Praetorian legacy was a cautionary tale. Elite force, created for protection, became a threat. Given privileges, became entitled. Given power,
Became corrupt. Given opportunity, became tyrants. They proved that bodyguards, if too strong, murder those they protect. That protectors become predators, that power, once given, is never voluntarily returned. Rome learned lesson late. 3 centuries of instability, dozens of murdered emperors, constant coups, civil wars, all because Augustus created armed force inside capital, necessary for his protection, disastrous for his successors. The Praetorians were Rome's death machines, not because they killed enemies, because they killed emperors, not because they defended Rome, because they held Rome hostage, not because they were warriors, because they were merchants, selling throne to highest bidder. In the end, they were destroyed by what they created, imperial instability, because unstable empire produces strong emperors, and strong emperors do not tolerate threats. Constantine was strong, Praetorians were threat. Simple equation. The barracks were demolished, the cohorts disbanded, the institution erased, but the lesson remained. And every ruler since, every president, every king, every dictator faces same question Augustus faced. Who protects you from those who protect you? Rome learned answer the hard way, through 3 centuries of blood. The guards who stood closest were the ones holding daggers, and sometimes the only solution is making sure no one stands that close again.